You said it clearly. When I talk to the kids, I say, how are bridges built? Can it be built by one person? No. Two ends have to meet. And where is it built over? It's normally built over treacherous waters or treacherous lands, right?
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
And I feel like we, a lot of times in law enforcement, we walk away from that. Nobody walks into a job interview and says, well, I want to be an asshole and I want to treat people with disrespect and talk down on people. No one would get hired, right? So
nowadays they might.
Yeah, well, but that's where it really started, and then
And you were starting to become a respected officer. Hey, listen, if you do get popped, you want to get in Officer Rivera's court because he's a good guy.
Yes,
he'll treat you with respect. He'll do his job, but he'll treat you with respect. So you start building that brand. Like that's what you're doing. You're branding yourself as a police officer, as a law enforcement officer. And it'll probably serve you well because you'll have less incidents in your courtroom.
Exactly.
People will treat you with respect. Your judge is going to be happy with you. And, like, hey, listen, don't take this guy. Don't disrespect. This guy does a good job here. And that's all you want. Shine wherever you are, just like you said.
Yeah. I'll tell you real quick. We've had trials with two different gangs in the courtroom. And just to piggyback off what you said, metal detectors set up. We know they hate each other. One of their homies just got killed by the opposing gang. We know that they're going there with bad intentions. And I would meet with them by myself, outside of, not saying I'm a big tough guy, but I would say, guys, I know what the deal is. I know what's this, I know what's that. Show me love and respect. Respect what I'm doing here. Everything will be cool. By the grace of God, like you said, no incidents in the courtroom. People would have outbursts. I would never embarrass anybody. Hey, shut your mouth. I'd walk over to them like a man, and I'd make eye contact and say, hey, man, I'm doing my job. There's cameras here. If I don't do my job, I'm going to get in trouble. Can you do me a solid and just calm down? I understand.
You say it all the time, I don't come to your job and cause problems.
Exactly.
Well, you used to see this with the influx of people going into Pennsylvania. Houses were cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So you have a lot of good families, and this kind of hit me when you said you respect the mother. You have a lot of good families in the inner city who don't want their kids to be tied up into the gang stuff and the problems and stuff. Some of them got out when it was too late. They get their houses in Pennsylvania, and what happens in certain parts of Pennsylvania become really bad because those kids bring the crap over to there. But all it is in its heart is the parents trying to give their kids a better life.
But see what happens, it's like you said, sometimes it works in reverse because now the parents are still working in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So all these gangs would befriend all these people that moved up from New Jersey because they know they have an open house all day.
Exactly. So they just sort of moved.
Yep.
They relocated the headquarters of their gang, and it always broke me. But how many times have you come across families who, you'll see somebody come in, they got 4 different kids and no carrier, their diapers are dirty, their clothes are dirty, and you look at these poor kids and you're like, man, you don't even have a chance.
You don't have a chance in hell.
You got 2 strikes against you, and you're going to have to live this way. And it breaks your heart. But so how do you change something like that? That's the big question. You're doing community-based police work without doing community-based police work, and you see these tragic situations, and you see the train rolling down the tracks, and it's going to hit something and derail. How do you step in and stop it?
You can't stop the train. But you could let them know that you're there. You could, you plant seeds. The old saying, plant the seed, man. It started with me in the drug abuse resistance education program, DARE program in Bayonne. When I was a kid, I still remember the cop that would come to our school, right? And I still remember him being such a pleasant individual. So, you give hope. The best way to give hope is by giving them your time, going back to love. Very simple in law enforcement. And I always say this and especially now I'm going to say this to encourage all my brothers and sisters in law enforcement out there. Everybody admires all the specialized units, right? Emergency services, SWAT, narcotics, homicide. They're all wonderful units, amazing individuals. But, the recon, I feel like, is community-based. What you do is when you're out there, boots to the ground, building his relationship with these community members, and you know them by first name basis, and guess what? You become a breath of fresh air.
And it deters crime, doing it.
Yes, and you get information, right?
But there's something about you, and I'm going to tell you what it is. So my experience with community policing officers, they're not like you. The majority of them, they're not like you. They are, what do we used to call them? House mouses.
House mouse.
Yeah. And I'm not
Chief's pet.
I'm not down in them because they do a valuable job. But you're coming into a job where street smarts plays a big role in community policing. It's not the guy who's best at paperwork. It's not the guy who's good at the computer programs. It's the guy that's willing to go out there and mix it up with the community. So that's what's different. That's what I'm saying right now. You're willing to go mix it up with the community, but you're also coming from a place of experience. You've been there. You were that kid. You could easily have turned out to be that adult who's incarcerated for X amount of years. So I don't know if that's the way that it is, but that's what I'm saying.
You nailed it, man. You nailed it.
See, another thing, like you were saying before, being part of that community, I was always taught that the police are an extension of your parents, right? So when you're out there in uniform and you're doing this community policing and you're doing this good work and you're talking to these kids about it, it's almost like being a father figure to these kids, and you get their respect that way. I used to pull the police car over all the time, play basketball with the kids, throw football around with them. You're part of that community.
Until some eighth grader dunks on you.
That only happened 3 times.
I got dunked on. I got dunked on, so it went viral. Yeah.
One of the greatest videos I ever saw was a bunch of kids are out playing street ball. Cop car rolls up. Kids sort of Shaq pops out.
I saw that.
Shaq pops out.
He loves law enforcement.
Yeah, he does. He's the best.
Super.
He got deputized, I think.
Yeah, he is the absolute best.
Yeah.
And gets out and plays ball. The cops bring Shaq there, and I'm thinking to myself, damn, man, that's what it's all about right there. That's what it's all about, because those kids will never forget the time the police brought Shaq to go play basketball with him.
Exactly. And you become a breath of fresh air. When you're a breath of fresh air, you show up on scene, and we all know, we've been around guys that they show up and you're like, shit, is it going to get worse?
Yep.
I got this guy or this girl's a liability. Or when they show up, you're like, I'm in great hands. Kevin's here. These guys are here. I feel good.
But there is one downside to the way you do your police work. There's a downside.
Yeah.
So when something does pop off, when something does happen where you have to maybe lock up somebody, it almost feels like a lost child, where you actually have to go do your job and lock somebody up or do something that you don't want to do, or if you stand over a dead body of a kid who you knew, you're like, I lost one, and that's got to weigh on you. Because you're not hardened, you fought hard against not being hardened by the system.
Yeah.
That's got to bother you. Does it ever get to you?
Yeah. Shout to Lynette Donato. She's a school psychologist. She's one of the first people to give me an opportunity in the schools with the Bridges Project. And a group of those kids are, they had major behavioral issues. A lot of things. Parents killed by gun violence. Maybe they don't have their parents. And some of them I mentored, and some of them, they're not in contact with me anymore. They got locked up, or it's just the nature of the beast. It's on. I can't control that. I can control what I do and what's in my heart. I could control, and if I could save one, you save the dynamic of the world, right? Everybody makes up a percentage of the globe. If you change one, you change the percentage of positive to negative. Am I right? No matter how minute it is, but if I change one, it's built off my reward comes later. My reward isn't right now. My reward is later when I'm retired, walking through ShopRite with my family, and a cop comes up to me or a kid comes up to me who's now a man or a girl, right? And they come up to me and they say, hey, Booker, man, you don't remember me? That's my reward.
Yeah.
When you came talk to me.
When you don't remember the amount that you saved,
exactly.
That's actually the greatest thing ever.
Exactly.
Well, you never know how many you save. You just know how many you lost.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because you're passionate. I'm passionate about it, and I want to save all of them. We want to save all of them. We want to. I have a team, man. I have a team that is passionate about what we do, and we want to save all of them. But we're also aware that we can't save all of them.
How did this transition into I want to get into the Bridges Project. I want to know how this theory of yours, this lifestyle, this way of policing transition into the Bridges Project.
Ironic as it may seem, shout to Johnny. Johnny was locked up for a long time. Good friend of mine. He's from the projects. He's from Pt.3 projects, one of the most dangerous projects in Jersey City. They call it Bullet Town. And he comes out of jail.
Which is ironic because Booker T. Washington was one of the most bright, smartest
unbelievable.
men ever.
Yeah, unbelievable. And he was one of the few Latinos, Puerto Ricans that lived in the projects, grew up, born, raised, violence, So anyway, we were good friends. We used to work together. So we grew up. So when he comes out of jail, I'm a cop. And it never changed our relationship. Obviously, at the time, he was still involved in some negativity. I couldn't be around him. But there was a mutual respect, right? It wasn't like, I never knew you. It was more like, I can't be around you.
He's not like, I can't talk to you now because...
Exactly. We would see each other, mutual respect. Can't go have a beer with you, but hey, what's up, man? How you been? How's the family? But he's the one that pulled me aside one day and told me, bro, you're the bridge, man. You're the bridge between the hood and cops. He's like, we need you. He's like, you're the bridge. And I was like, wow, the Bridges Project. So it's ironic that a community member that was, formerly incarcerated, now changed his life. Shout to him and his family. He has a beautiful family. He's doing positive things. He's the one that actually put the thought in my head, and that's when it started about 9 years ago. And, now it correlates over to my job because I consider myself a bridge, not only for the community, but for cops. I get so many messages from cops.
Well, bridges go both ways.
Yeah, exactly. But I get calls from cops, DMs, messages. Yo, man, how do you do what you do? My department won't let me do that. Or how could you rap? And I'm talking about Dallas, Alabama. I've had cops reach out to me who are depressed and they feel comfortable coming to me. And to me, it's just a blessing that God is using me in this form and fashion through the Bridges Project.
He's giving you a voice. So the Bridges Project...
And a platform.
Explain to us what the Bridges Project does. Besides, we know you're the bridge between the community and the police and the community, but tell me what the Bridges Project does. We
are a mentorship / leadership program. Our niche is within the school systems, predominantly kids that are at-risk youth, and we are considered a Tier 2 intervention program. So what we do is we go into schools and we mentor kids in the school setting, right, in a group setting on perseverance, goals, resilience, community. We have a full-blown curriculum. So the Bridges Project, what we want to do is not only let them know that, not all cops are bad, but we want to show them that you can utilize your gifts and talents, like be a rapper and be a positive rapper. You could still be a cop and be a rapper. Why not? You could still be a doctor and be a rapper, and there is a doctor that I follow that she's a rapper. But not only a rapper. There you go. Yeah, what's wrong with that? But like I said, utilize your gifts and your talents, and what we want to do is, you use the term, give them a voice. You said it. Give them a voice. A lot of these kids, they don't like cops because they think we're robots. You don't like rap. So when I show up, when my team shows up, we show up and we meet them right where they are. You like rap? We like rap. You like Jordans? We like Jordans. And it's not something that I made up. It's something that was part of my culture growing up. It's part of my very fabric. So, that's what the Bridges Project is. And you said it. You said it clearly. When I talk to the kids, I say, how are bridges built? Can it be built by one person? No. Two ends have to meet. And where is it built over? It's normally built over treacherous waters or treacherous lands, right? So that's what we do. And then once that bridge is built, we could travel. The bridge doesn't say you're white, you're black, you're Latino, you're Asian, you can't come across this bridge. The bridge doesn't say this is your past, this is your present, this is your future. You can't. No, the bridge is open to everybody. But it just takes us to understand each other.
So being white police officers, we run into this.
You're white? No way. I thought you were Puerto Rican.
I am very light-skinned Puerto Rican.
You have a nice tan. You have a nice tan.
There's only two of us in here.
Andy is our
Andy looks like Adrian Brody. So,
God, is that you?
But that's
you
a big. That's a big block. That's a big block because people will look at me and they'll be like, "You don't know anything about the way I grew up." I'm like, "No, motherfucker, I grew up and I come from the city. Trust me, I'm good." But people don't understand that. They're going to look at me one way and they're going to judge me in much the same way that certain cops are going to look at them and judge them right away before they know them.
Yes.
So that bridge does travel both ways when it comes to that.
Yes.
But it's always a roadblock with white officers. They could want to do exactly what you do, but they have to overcome so much in order to get to
They
that goal.
do. I agree.
Absolutely.
But I would just say this. White officers doing this is even greater than me doing it, because the stigma on white officers and minorities is so bad that if they were, right, to say a guy like you, be out there, loved by your community, like shout to Tommy Norman in North Little Rock, Arkansas. He's a legend. I don't know if you know about him, Tommy Norman.
No.
He's the pioneer of community policing. Look him up when you get a chance. But anyway, they start to love you so much, and they say, well, wait a minute. I know some white cops that are cool as hell, man. You know, that's not true, what I see on the internet, and that's, you know, on
And
so
when you start seeing one thing that's not true, the dominoes start to
yes,
fall.
yeah, yep.
You know, the best compliment as a cop, I forgot. It's kind of a backhanded compliment. I was dealing with this one who was black kid, and I was dealing with him so much, and I always treated him with respect. I always treated him very kindly. And he goes, you know what? You got the N-word pass. And I said, well, I'll tell you what.
No thanks.
That's a trick.
I'm not going to say it, because in much the same way that I don't refer to a female as the B word.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's a proper term for anybody.
Yeah. Yep.
But it was a backhanded compliment, and from the place where he was giving it to me, it was a big show of respect by from him.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
It's like,
Yeah.
don't worry, I'm good. I just like keep saying it.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother, but I'm fine.
Pass on that.
Yeah, I was singing
pass
this
on that.
Wu-Tang song the other day, and I N-word through the whole thing.
I'll ride in this lane by myself. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
So the Bridges Project's had some successes.
Yeah. We're still growing. Can I shout my team out?
Absolutely.
Yeah, shout out to, I mentioned her before, school psychologist Lynette DiNardo, Dr. Pia Moore, my cousin who's the operations director, Derek Machado. Shout to Nelson Rivera, Lighthouse Films. Shout to Alex Ralph, who also does some visual content for us. And shout to my wife, man. She's in charge of all the clerical stuff and helping us out. And the team is so important. And I realized that, just a couple years ago, how important your team is. And going back to God, and I know I keep mentioning it, but my team was given to me by God. It's just meeting different people and believing in each other, because it's not me, it's a whole team, and believing in each other, and everybody has different skills, so.
Like you said, one man can't build a bridge.
No, exactly. So I'm just so blessed to have these people in my life.
Well, where do you hope to take it?
My dream is to have this nationally known, in regards to having representatives who are law enforcement officers who are just being themselves and being in the community and are able to mentor kids within their community in a school setting, right? And go back to what you said. It's not an office, it's not somebody that's in an office giving out stickers and hats on National Night Out.
Yeah.
It has to be consistent. It has to be throughout the year. They have to know you. It has to be consistent, and you have to continue to be tangible to these kids and to the community, not only kids, to everybody. And I promise you that will induce change. Crime will always be there. We're never going to stop crime. It's like, I'm not here, saying, oh my God, we're going to stop crime and everything. But what we want to do is change the trajectory on how people feel about law enforcement, and also give them hope that, you can make it out of this environment.
I think the thing that is most important is that, you got to be this, you got to be real.
There you go.
There you
go. Be yourself.
Exactly.
Be yourself.
I would venture to say that if God forbid that you get hurt or something, and you can't be on the community for a certain amount of time, you're laid up or whatever, your absence will be felt on the street, and that's how you know you did your job.
Yes.
When they don't see you there, like, hey, let me go check on Officer Rivera. Yeah, that's what you want to do. So where can we find the Bridges Project?
You can find the Bridges Project on Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, it's Bookem. That's BOOKEM as in Mary _Bridges. And on Facebook, it's Bookem Bridges. And also you could go to the website, www.thebridgesproject.org. You can also email me at theprojectbridges @gmail.com if you have any questions.
Any other plugs you want to throw out?
No, I want to thank you guys, man. I want to thank the Suffering Podcast. I know, I really do want to give you your flowers. I know I did it off the record, but you guys compliment each other very well. I'm grateful for the opportunity because I know this is a little outside of, you know, what you guys would normally do, and getting me in here.
Not
no, I
really.
appreciate
Not at
no,
all.
no, I appreciate it.
A guy
But,
coming from the streets.
yeah,
And,
yeah, I appreciate
going
it,
through
man.
that suffering and becoming a cop and
Yeah.
you know, the Bridges Project and everything.
Yeah,
But
I
one thing you
appreciate
did say, you know, you want to take this nationwide. I hate to deflate you, but you're not getting it from this show.
Nah, don't downplay yourself. Let me tell you, don't downplay yourself because
we may get you to
I watched.
Bayonne.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
parts of New York. And that's about it.
Hoboken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends in Hoboken.
We got
Shout to
Hoboken locked.
Shout to Hoboken, man. I got a lot of good friends
Miles
over there.
Square.
Yeah,
But you're knuckle dragging through the process. You're getting
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
you're getting
yeah.
one person at a time, and you're saving that one person. At
well,
a time.
I'm trying. No, well, actually, no. We're trying to. We used to do one kid at a time, but to be quite honest, it's hard. I have a family. I have a job. I have a career. You know, there's so much going on. My kids are important, obviously. So what we have to do, what we did is we revamped the Bridges Project, and now we're doing it group settings. What's the best place? Schools, programs, and you know, different elements where there's a group of kids that need our resources.
You're also starting to look beyond the badge.
Yes.
You're in your 18th year.
Yeah.
You're hitting the twilight. You're starting
Yeah.
to, the sun's starting to set on your career, and all you're doing is building a legacy. So when your career ends, Bridges Project can move on.
Absolutely. Hopefully, God willing.
So Danny, we're coming to the end of this thing here, and you know, I love the place you came from, and I love how you view police work now. And it wasn't always that way in police work.
No.
And your life wasn't always this way. I'm sure there were some dark days when you were a little kid that felt very hopeless. What am I going to do? Where's my future? And you've gone through an enormous amount of suffering to get to where you are today. But I guarantee it's taught you something. So why don't you tell us what your suffering has taught you?
My suffering has taught me how to be resilient, how to lean on God, and how to, you know, use my trauma to help others out of the trauma, out of their trauma. You know, it's just taught me how to be a better father. You know, I'm able to, you know, love on my daughters because of what I went through, and to not allow them to go through the suffering that I went through.
You're lighting that torch for the next one coming up the ladder.
Yeah, exactly. But you're building generations.
Thank you.
Danny, thank you so much for coming in tonight. And this is a good one. This is a real good one.
Thank you, sir.
It's a feel-good story.
Yeah, it is.
Thank
And
you.
We don't have to decompress on the way
No,
home.
no, this is a good one. But you've been in here, so now you are part of our family, and you
Thank
must
you,
keep
man.
us abreast of everything that the Bridges Project is doing, because we'll throw it out there. Listen, when
Yeah,
Mike
absolutely.
will tell you, when we believe in something, your family,
Thank you, man.
we're all on your team.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And thank you for the opportunity, guys.
Hey, thank you
Appreciate
for what you're doing.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Your stuff
Thank you.
needs to be highlighted.
Thank you, man.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Mentor with Danny Bookham Rivera. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Parents need to be there. Moments are put in front of us to open our eyes. Police work changes you. Shine wherever you are. Planting seeds now will bear fruit in the future. But most importantly, be a bridge. And that's going to do it for this episode that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast. Don't forget to go to 234 Franklin Avenue. Visit Gus over at Cubita Cafe. He's got the most wonderful food over there. He takes care of us here, and I'm a regular there now because the food doesn't hurt my stomach, because Gus really cares about what he's cooking over there. Go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for your digital business card, get your 20% discount. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever.
OnlyFans.
Follow Mike at Mike_Falaise. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.